Who am I? And these are the names of the children of Israel who entered Egypt. Shemot 1, verse 1. This verse and the development of this parasha brings to mind the importance of having a name, an identity, an origin, and a future. In fact, a main principle in the Human Rights Act of 1959 establishes that, quote, the child has the right from birth to a name and a nationality. The question then is why? According to several sociologists, anthropologists, psychologists, and humanists, it is because it is a symbolic value that generates effects in the unconscious and that affects or determines the subject who carries it in a significant way. This means that it is an anchor of identity, a rational description of who I am and how I differ from others, and the importance of belonging to a group or clan. This is a sense of our surname or our clan name. The name, in summary, tells us a little about our history, our place of origin, of our parents, and there is an unconscious presence in the person who bears the name of who gave it or designated it, since they will enjoy certain characteristics and roots of their ancestors. If we didn't have a name, then who would we be? How would you differentiate me from others? Without a name, social and family integration in terms of a sense of belonging, security, affection, and identification would not be developed in a normal and healthy way. Psalm 2:7 says, the Lord said to me, you are my son today, and I've begotten you. Who is this son? Although it is true that this psalm is controversial in the sense that in Christianity it refers to Christ, we must assume that the characteristics of a son would be of the same essence as that of a father, as explained by the Radak, Rabbi David Kimchi. He was born 1160 to 1235. In this sense, it cannot refer to a human being, since the origin of the eternal is not carnal, not material, it is outside this world. So a son is understood in a metaphorical sense, not a literal sense. Continuing with this, those who are called children of God are those people who willingly fulfill someone's commandments and act as their appropriate emissaries, as expressed by Professors Mark Zvi Bretler and Amy Jill Levine in the following words of the Radak. And so also a person, because of the heavenly spirit within him, when he executes the command of God, because of the wise spirit that guides him, that's God, calls him son. And that is why the psalm says, you are my son, today I have given birth to you. On the other hand, the expression, I've begotten you today, according to the Midrash Tehillim, citing Rabbi Hannah, says that it implies a creation of a new creation. If we see it in practical terms, it is like gaining a new identity, a new opportunity to start life from scratch. Have you seen those movies where agents are given new identities? We even saw how millions of people during persecutions, post-war times, or people who are hidden as witnesses are given new identities to start a new life. That is the importance then of the name. He is still biologically the same person, but his behavior or his mentality is a new creation. At the death of Yosef in Vayachi, more or less 80 till 116 years had passed, during which Israel was being seduced by the Egyptian world. They had been assimilated culturally, socially, as many of them had to marry non-Israelites, and religiously by having only oral traditions, since the written Torah had not been yet delivered. That is, Israel had regressed to the characteristics of Yaakov and was about to disappear. They were not expressing the characteristics of Jacob's new name, Israel. So this is where the Eternal appears, beginning the book with a summary of names and numbers. The names give us an idea of who they were, where they came from, and the identity of each one of them. On the other hand, the quantity was an expression of love, since each one mattered. But above all, the sum of all of them was one. As we read in chapter 4:22, Israel is my son, my firstborn, without reference to 70, but the 70 were one. For example, the 70, Israel, and each individual belonging to Israel. If we delve into it, we see that there are several dangers that make us lose the identity of children. First, prosperity. It says in chapter 1, verse 7, the children of Israel were fruitful. They were fruitful, they multiplied, and they became very, very strong. End of quote. Can blessings sometimes work against us? Yes, if we don't keep our feet firmly planted on the ground. The words used in chapter 1, verse 7 are verbs that magnify human effort, because it does not say, and the Eternal made them prosperous, but rather that through their effort they became strong. That is to say, they grew in imbalance. They became strong in muscle, but not in soul. How many strong men have I seen fall because of their big heads, a lot of muscle, a big brain? This danger stems from thriving without Torah, which can lead to destruction. The second danger is external factors, such as leaders, governments, or groups. We see them in chapter 1, verse 8. A new king arose over Egypt who did not know Joseph. These sow anxiety in Jewish souls so that they do not wish to be a part of Israel. Today, with the growing anti-Semitism, how many are changing their names, wanting to forget their roots to avoid suffering? We have seen it at every expulsion from lands in Nazi Europe, in the Dark Ages, and so on. The third factor, the cares of life. Israel was ordered to make bricks, that is, to produce meaningless things without value. This brings bitterness, as in chapter 1, verse 14 says, and they made their lives bitter with hard work of clay and bricks, and with all work in the fields. All the work was harsh. Today, there are meaningless work activities, which is like making bricks. For example, printing documents that no one will review, but involves time signing, stamping, printing, and storing, when there are ways to do it digitally to reduce the time of stamping and obtaining original signatures. Excuse me. Activities that do not generate value. I have seen people whose only desire in life is to do nothing. They are paralyzed. or they that try to do everything at once without generating values because they do not complete anything. They are making bricks for a third party. Not generating and adding value or life to activities brings frustration, a feeling of not being useful, of feeling wasted, and eventual bitterness, which is not only internal but is transmitted to the family. Let's return to the initial idea. We see that in this portion, two names appear. One, Moshe, taken out of the waters, out of the Nile, literal, or taken out of death, metaphorical. And the name of the blessed be he, chapter 3, verse 14. And God said to Moses, Eyeh asher eyeh. I will be who I will be. He further said, Thus you shall say to the children of Israel, Eyeh has sent me to you. Vayomer Elohim el Moshe, Eyeh asher Eyeh. That is, we see the importance of a name. It indicates who is speaking to us, who is in front of us, how to behave, and how to live life. When we read the Haftorah portion, Isaiah 27:6, days will come when Jacob takes root, Israel will flourish and put forth shoots, and the face of the world will be filled with fruit. We see the importance of the name. Israel had forgotten its origins, had lost its identity of being light, and now committed iniquities, sins, idolatry. That's verse 8 to 10. The prophetic message continues saying that Israel will become one again. The 70 souls will be one again, verse 11 and 12. They will give up drinking, verse 28, 1 and 7, pride, 28, verse 3. They will eliminate shame, 29, 22, and they will receive a new spirit, understood in verse 29, verse 24. We often reflect a false identity, a sense of not being who we are. We lose our name. We allow ourselves to be given a new identity, to forget who we are. Even in the modern world, we stop being a person and become a number, to depersonalize ourselves, just as the Nazis did at the time. You are important. You account for the eternal. Return to your origins because you already have a name. I close with this Tehillim song. He will call me, you are my Father, my God, and the rock of my salvation. By recognizing that God is our Father, recognizing that He has given us a name, a unique identity and personality, it will allow us to live freely. It is the beginning of freedom. Let us not allow ourselves to be labeled by who we are not. Let us not fall into traps that bombard us daily, telling us that we are genocidal, an apartheid nation, usurpers, etc. All that is a lie. It does not define who we are. We are Israel, and we must live by Israel's standards of living, regardless of how the world tries to define us. We love peace, we love life, we love our neighbors. We are light, we are firstborn sons of the eternal and followers of the Torah. Shabbat Shalom.